Even though it's an instantly recognizable location within Hogwarts Castle, I kind of feel that LEGO has neglected the greenhouses in their sets over the 20 plus years that the theme has been around. Things are changing in a big way though with the release of the first ever standalone greenhouse set this summer. And of course I couldn't resist the urge to compare it to the previous versions of the greenhouse that we've seen. So today, join me as we investigate what works with a LEGO Hogwarts greenhouse and what doesn't. Let's take a closer look. So a huge thank you to the LEGO Group and Brick Nerd for making this video possible. The LEGO Ambassador Network sent over the entire wave of Harry Potter sets on behalf of Brick Nerd. Brick Nerd is an absolutely fantastic LEGO blog that gets into the nitty-gritty of this hobby. I dare say even more so than myself. They invited me to do an article about the new sets for them, which I will definitely link down below. But while you're over there, be sure to check out the hundreds of other articles that they have for you to read. There is something there for everyone, and seriously, if you like cheesy studios, you're gonna love what's going on over there. Now, I'm really excited about the entirety of the summer 2025 Harry Potter wave, but the one set that I naturally want to focus on today is Hogwarts Castle Herbology class. This will be the third minifigure scale rendering of the greenhouses, but the first to appear as its own standalone set. The other two appeared as part of larger Hogwarts expansions, and that started all the way back in 2007. The 2007 Hogwarts Castle is probably one of the rarest LEGO Harry Potter items out there. It was the only standard playset released that year to coincide with the release of the Order of the Phoenix, and that version of the castle just so happened to include a section of the greenhouse. Now, it's very much my intention to build this thing back together from my childhood collection and go over it in a revisiting video very soon, so stay tuned for that. For the time being, I'll direct your attention to this small little side build of that very large set. This is pretty exciting to get for the first time, though it's very much worth pointing out that this set, and no set before it, actually came with Professor Sprout. So yes, we finally got the greenhouse 6 years after the LEGO Harry Potter theme came into existence, but still no Professor to speak of. The color scheme of this thing is very much a product of its time. Some of the earliest Harry Potter sets were a little afraid to embrace color. There was a lot of gray and a lot of tan. What I really do like about this greenhouse is that it folds up to be completely enclosed on all sides with one simple access door, the same door that you might remember from the first version of the Shrieking Shack. The exterior is finely detailed, there's not much to comment on here. Take note of these wall sections here too, used to add a little bit of depth to the greenhouse. You'll be seeing those later on as well. Once you open this thing up, I find it to be very well detailed, especially for a set of its time. There's plenty of greenery, mushrooms, and then there's a single sticker depicting some instructions, I assume for repotting a mandrake, as well as a magnifying glass on the wall. The highlight here though has definitely got to be the mandrakes themselves. This was LEGO's first take on a mandrake. So it's just a minifigure head with leaves bursting out the top. It's the big, fragile tri-leaf piece. I know both my childhood ones lost all their leaves at some point, but the prints here remain in remarkably good condition. They just fit right inside the classic barrel piece, which I think looks really great. Love the detail on the print here. It's really sharp, looks really great. The shape of a minifigure head probably isn't perfect, but it totally gets the idea across and I love it. Yeah, it's a simple design, but I think it worked really well, which is good because it would have to be the only greenhouse until 2020. Like the 2007 Hogwarts Castle greenhouse, the 2020 one was also part of a much larger set. And that, of course, is the Astronomy Tower from a few years back. I really love this set. It has a bunch of fantastic minifigures, and the great thing about it now is that it's actually really cheap to pick up for some reason. I'm guessing this must have been heavily clearanced at some point, maybe LEGO made too many of them, but you can get a new sealed copy for $50 to $70, which is far less than its recommended retail price, which was $100. The greenhouse is the smallest of the bunch for sure, but there's a few things to love here. For one, it's nice to see a color that's different than gray. I wouldn't say dark orange is perhaps the most movie accurate, but it helps it stand out from the rest of the Astronomy Tower set, and I'm just a sucker for dark orange. The generous use of windows in all shapes and sizes really contributes to the greenhouse feel here. Plenty of light gets in on the interior, and it's really cleverly constructed too. This actually just sits on top, this sub-assembly for the roof, the friction does hold it in place. You can flip it upside down and it's not going to come out. However, I'm not going to demonstrate that because there's some things on the inside that would fall all over the place, and those are some potted mandrakes. Before I reveal these, I should give you a brief history of LEGO mandrakes. Of course, we had the minifigure heads from 2007, and then in 2018, we got our first ever specialized mandrake in the CMF line with Neville. This was a new piece developed specifically for this minifigure, and it's got a printed mandrake on it. The following year, CMF in 2019 would give us an updated version of the mandrake, simply printed on a 1x1 round nougat cylinder. And it's actually that same design that we see repeated here, just with a different print on it. And there are no less than 4 of them included in this tiny little greenhouse, which is so awesome. The astronomy tower is a Half-Blood print set, so I love how you can actually crack the windows open here. And the set includes a pair of garden shears for Slughorn to be sneaking in and cutting some leaves. There's just some great attention to detail packed in here. And I should definitely mention the golden dragons on the roof, which is a very recognizable detail from the few overhead shots that we get of the greenhouses in the Chamber of Secrets. And that's going to bring us to the present. This is the 2025 version of the greenhouse, and it is quite glorious. Though you're going to have to pay dearly for it because this tiny little set that almost fits in the palm of my hand costs you $50. So if you're going to charge that much money, there better be some new elements in here. And that there is. Allow me to introduce the brand new specialized molded mandrakes and pots that are included in this set. These are like some strange cross between like the LEGO minifigure babies and the Dreamlings that we got from the Dreams theme. They're perfect, they're brand new, there's tons of attachment points, they're easy to grab and repot. And there's 3 great new LEGO flower pot pieces to make that happen. And again, they're done in that beautiful dark orange color, which is the perfect terracotta color for a set like this. They're gonna have a ton of applications within Harry Potter for sure, but definitely outside of the theme as well. Ironically, this ends up being the first greenhouse or greenhouse adjacent set to actually include Professor Sprout, which is great to see. The previous editions of this character always had printed dress pieces or dual molded legs, so this one is a bit of a letdown in that department. But what I really like about this figure is that she's got some coppery printing on the front and back of the torso, which is a very unexpected detail, but great to see. If we take a step back through the years, you'll find the last version of the figure that we saw was in 2021. This Professor Sprout was included in the Hogwarts Moment book set for Hufflepuff. She's very similar. Here you can see those dual molded legs, but the same hair hat combo. The CMF version of the figure from 2019 remains the best in my opinion, with that beautifully printed front and back dress piece. And this of course was the version of the figure that introduced that perfect hair hat combo. Glad it's still alive all these years later. Don't fix what ain't broken. But there was one more version of the minifigure produced surprisingly in 2011, right before the theme died out. This Professor Sprout from 2011's Battle of Hogwarts is surprisingly well done. Though perhaps I shouldn't say surprisingly, as many figures of the 2010-2011 era of Harry Potter sets were quite fantastic. Think of Molly Weasley and Bellatrix from the Burrow. She remains the only minifigure ever to receive the Wizard's hat in dark tan, and the figure is surprisingly cheap on Bricklink. Unless you're a collector, she's probably not worth picking up since the CMF one is about the same price and includes way more detail. But cool piece of little LEGO history to have nonetheless. The new 2025 set also includes 2 other minifigures, though they're nothing too special here. You've got Hermione and Neville in their herbology classroom garb. The greenhouse itself actually bears a number of similarities to the original 2007. Now I have to imagine that some of these callbacks were intentional. Remember that little wall panel piece I told you to look out for? It's used in the same exact position around the base, once again just to provide a little bit of extra detail around the exterior of the model. It opens up in the same way, which isn't, the most amazing, game-changing idea ever, but it feels like a connection back to the 2007 nonetheless, and I love to see that. What it's certainly scrapped from the 2007 model though is the color. This one is much more vibrant, especially on the interior, which just explodes with life, character, details. There's just a whimsy to be found here that I absolutely adore. There's crazy parts usage all over the place, and like has become standard for the most recent waves of LEGO Harry Potter, these things are quite modular, can be taken apart. You got 2 separate workstations with some fun parts here, including the new bubbly potion effect in olive green, representing some sort of crazy cactus or who knows what sort of magical plant. I have to imagine that these orange balls are dirigible plums. That's just the first thing that comes to mind. I love the tree that is just sprouting out through the window, and you get the roots on the outside. Really, really fun stuff. Lots of character here. This set also brings back the dragon hilts that we saw in the 2020 version of the greenhouse. It's paired very interestingly with a golden umbrella element to try to recreate once again that effect that you see in the movies from the aerial shots. I think the combination of tan, pearl gold, dark gray, and light bluish gray does get a little bit noisy on the exterior, but I just have to applaud the designer for packing this with so much detail nonetheless. Building all 3 of these greenhouses really makes me want to try my hands at a mock. I think there's a lot of potential there to explore. And I think a mixture of white and tan is gonna get the best result when it comes to the colors of the exterior. Unsurprisingly, the new version, in my mind, is going to be the ultimate greenhouse, at least that you can get straight out of the box in an official LEGO set. But man, is $50 for this absolutely cursed. Hopefully, much like we saw with the astronomy tower a few years back, you'll be able to pick this up sealed in 5 years for half the price. That would be kind of perfect. So there you go. That's a look at greenhouses through the ages. It's certainly one of my favorite locations in Harry Potter, and it's fun seeing what each era brought to the table, because I think each of these sets does have something going for it. The totally enclosed nature of the first one I think is brilliant. I love the little chalkboard that's included in here, even if it is a sticker. It just helps you play out that classroom scene so well. The really playful color of 2020s and just the sheer amount of mandrakes are all huge wins. And then there's the color, the chaos, and the vibrance that the latest model brings, which I really, really love. I think if you combine the best aspects of each of these here, you got yourself a perfect greenhouse. And that there, folks, is the beauty of LEGO, right? Getting inspired and then building something of your own. So let me know what you think of these 3 models. Which one is your favorite? Do you have any of these? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thank you once again to LEGO and Brick Nerd for making this happen. Go check out Brick Nerd and read my article over there. And thanks to all of you for taking the time to watch this. Hope you have yourself a great life, and I'll see you again soon.